traditional LFO and VCA module has, unsurprisingly, two separate LFO circuits. Starting at the top, the rate knob works as you would expect. The higher you turn it, the faster the LFO works. Outputs, I'm going to jump way down here to the outputs. Before talking about shape, let me point out the two outputs per channel. Each channel has both a triangle and a square output. These are bipolar voltages, which means the voltage goes below 0 volts at a range of -5 to a plus volts or a 10 volt peak to peak. Oh, you know what? Let me plug in some data here. Right, one red, one blue. Right, so can you see this over here? On the scope, you see the top trace is the triangle channel and the red trace is the square channel. So now we have some visual going on here. Let's talk about this. The triangle out, at full counterclockwise, the shape coming from the triangle output is a ramp down, as you can see here. As you move the shape knob clockwise, the triangle output warps to a smooth up or down. At the center and finally fully clockwise, the triangle is a ramp up, or sawtooth. And again, the full range being -5 to +5 volts. On the square output jack, which is the red trace down here, at fully counterclockwise, the shape coming from the square output is what looks like to me as a 100% wide pulse width, meaning the pulse is wide open. As you move the shape knob clockwise, the square output warps to a pulse signal that goes from -5 volts to +5 volts instantly, as a square pulse would, like a clock. And finally, fully clockwise, the square output is what again looks to me like an inverted pulse. Note in the diagram, as the shape knob moves clockwise, the fall edge of the pulse moves more towards the rise edge. I'm sure this has a proper vernacular, I just don't know what it is. There's a CV input here for sync, which is just a basic reset of each channel's LFO cycle back to the start. One use case of this might be playing a modular with a keyboard, and you want the LFO cycles to restart every time you press a key on the keyboard. Over here is the VCA channel, and this appears to be a very simple circuit, though it does look to have some interesting possibilities. First off, the VCA in can take an external signal, DC coupled like most other VCAs, and passes a signal to the out jack, attenuated by the CV input voltage, again, like most other VCAs. This CV jack accepts only 0 to +5 volts, again, like most VCAs. The manual states that it can tolerate between -12 and +12, but anything outside of 0 to 5 volts positive will be ignored. Finally, let me touch on the slow switch here. So when the slow switch is in the up position, the LFO frequency ranges from 0.15 Hz to 25 Hz. If the slow switch is in the down position, the frequency range drops between 100 seconds and 0.05 seconds per cycle. I want to patch something up real quick because I think to hear this audibly in your ears might make a little bit more sense. Let me take just the triangle shape. Let me go fast. And I'm going to take this to frequency. All right, so what you're hearing here is the LFO. You can watch this little blinky light. I'm going to speed it up. Does exactly what you would imagine it would do. So at the middle, I'm going to flip the slow switch now. So it's a lot slower, see that? Let's go back to normal speed. So you can hear it's like a triangle. Smooth up, smooth down. If I turn this all the way to counterclockwise, it'll then be a ramp down. So it'll start with the frequency high and drop off. So if I switch it completely clockwise the other way, it's going to be a ramp up. So it's going to start quiet and go up and then drop off. So it's like a swell. Now let me switch over to the square wave. So the square output is going to be on off instantly. There's not going to be any ramping up. On off, right? So if I turn this knob counterclockwise, now it's just on. So what's really going on here is you're just closing and opening the pulse width. So what this is a really wide pulse with a little sliver at the end, you know, that can't be heard. Here's the thing that I wanted to listen to, and that is I'm going to go back to triangle. I'm going to turn this all the way to clockwise. And then speed this up. Because remember, when it's not fully counterclockwise or clockwise, it's only 25 hertz. But when you're fully counterclockwise, it's 1 kilohertz. So this has some pretty interesting sonic possibilities. This is what I was saying earlier, that it could be interesting. So if we weren't fully clockwise, it would be a lot slower, right? I mean, 25 hertz is still pretty darn quick if you think about it. It's 25 cycles per second. But it's not as fast as 1 kilohertz. Right. All right, that's all I wanted to show about that. There's more to it. I'm not going to get into the VCA stuff because I don't use it ever for anything. But anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to show about this particular module. I'm going to move on to the next module because this is getting really long.